think we both held the record at the time. It was the first time at that level of game that two 17-year-olds were playing in a league match. So it was an unbelievable experience for me. And, well, it's incredible experience. It's learning on the job basically. So you sink or swim. Yeah. Thankfully, having a name like Salmon, I managed to swim, keep my head just above the water. I watched all the best keepers of my generation who I thought they did that well. So Pat Jennings, for instance, was a keeper that I'm throwing names out here that some of your older listeners may have heard of. Hopefully, Eddie rang me and said, "Look, we love what you've done with Jason. Do you fancy coming into Arsenal to work with the academy?" Which is a really ridiculous question. I maintain now that I learned more there in 5 years than the rest of my career.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heart of the Game podcast brought to you by SciSports. I'm your host, Brian McDonough, and on this show, we speak to individuals who are at the front and center of the game of football, those from behind the scenes, and even those who are working jobs that you may never have known existed. But all have one thing in common. They are the heart of the game, and that's what matters. Today, on this third episode of the Heart of the Game podcast, we are joined by Mike Salmon. Mike will dive into his career in professional football, his time in England as well as Wales, and his post-playing career in coaching, where he spent time with Arsenal and has even made a move to Canada, where he is now the player development senior coordinator at BC Soccer. Guys, this is a really great episode, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this third episode of the Heart of the Game podcast. With that, let's get started. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brian. It's great to be on this and, hopefully promoting the game of football as we are.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. We have a lot to talk about. We've met prior and talked a little bit about your career, so we're going to dive into all that today. But going way back, everyone has a origin story within the sport of football, within the sport of soccer. Curious of yours, when did you start playing the beautiful game?
Well, I think that anybody that's been brought up in England is in the culture from the day you start walking. So it was never kind of in doubt that I wouldn't play football because pretty much everybody does over there. I just happened to be fortunate that I had parents that would kick a ball with me every day, every minute of every day that I wanted it. So I love the game from the minute I could walk. I was kicking a football. I thought I was more intelligent than I actually was, so I tried to go to college. That didn't work out for me. So fortunately, Blackburn Rovers had offered me an apprenticeship, and they still offer me the apprenticeship, even though I turned it down. So I managed to get my first professional club at a very young age in Blackburn Rovers, who very kindly re-offered me a contract.
So yeah, let's talk about that transition. So Blackburn came in, offered you a contract. What age were you at that point? And would you say it was in the cards? How were you discovered early on?
I was 16 at the time. They offered me what was then called an apprenticeship to go and be like an apprentice professional for 2 years.
Okay.
So as soon as you can leave school at 16 in England, which is what I planned to do. Originally, then I changed my mind, wanted to go to college. So I turned down the offer from Blackburn and said I was going to go to college. I wanted to be a PE teacher. And then I realized very soon into my college career that college wasn't for me. I wasn't nowhere near as intelligent as I thought I was. I think about 3 months in, I said, this is not working out. So my mum very kindly jumped on a call with the scout that saw me playing in the local leagues at Blackburn. And they were happy to have me back. So I was really fortunate. Even though they got another goalkeeper at the time, they wanted me, so they signed me there and then, which was really fortunate for me. So that the door was still open.
It sounds like we talked. You owe a lot to Blackburn because they also gave you your debut right at 17 years of age. Let's talk about that. That's a big step from getting the apprenticeship to then all of a sudden. Was it a year later that you had that debut?
It was approximately a year later. Yeah, I was really fortunate that the manager at the time. He saw something in me, which was great. He gave me an opportunity ahead of older keepers to play in what would have been then is like the equivalent of the Championship now. So Blackburn Rovers were in the Championship. Chelsea were actually in the Championship, which probably some people would find hard to believe. But before they had the money that they have now, they were a Championship team. And then the goal at the other end was another 17-year-old goalkeeper. Called Steve Francis. I think we both held the record at the time. It was the first time at that level of game that two 17-year-olds were playing in a league match. So it was an unbelievable experience for me, and something that I'll always be grateful for, to get that chance. It kind of gave me a platform for other clubs, to see me and see what I could do at a young age. So it was fantastic.
Amazing. Now, was that at Stamford Bridge or was that at Blackburn? If out of curiosity,
it was at Ewood Park, and we drew the game 1-1. It was just, I just remember, it was just an incredible experience to be playing in front of a crowd, in front of everything that I dreamed of as a kid. To be actually doing it was just an amazing experience. Yeah, one I'll always remember.
Are you, out of curiosity, are you one of those former professional athletes who has like encyclopedic memory? Can you remember most appearances, or is it if you go through the years, or is that something that's a little bit tough?
I think you have to be able to forget some things, that's for sure. Otherwise, you'd never sleep at night. So yeah, it's funny, that one, because some games that I really wanted to remember, I can barely remember. And then other games that are embedded in there for whatever reason, I don't know. So it's very spotty, very sporadic. I can remember bits of that game. To be honest, I remember the warm up being exhausting, because one of the senior players wanted to make sure that I was up to speed. And he did this warm up with me that I would never do in a million years, but because he was a senior player, I just did it. But by the end of it, I was also on my knees.
Well, you said you drew 1-1, right? So
we drew 1-1. Yeah,
didn't go too bad. Didn't go too poorly then.
It was okay. Yeah, it was. For sure, it was a good game.
Okay, so then after your time at Blackburn, you've made a couple moves. Let's talk about that, which I guess preceded your time in the first division, right, at Charlton.
Yes,
so
for sure.
Where did you go from there?
Well, that was the beauty of getting spotted early on at an early age, was that lower league clubs saw that I'd made appearances. I went on loan to a couple of lower league clubs. Leeds was one of them. I didn't play in the first team there, but that gave me more exposure. I went to Chester City and played 16 to 18 games there. So then that opened up the door for other clubs to come and take me aside. So I played in the lower leagues for Stockport, Bolton, Wrexham, and accumulated at a really early age a lot of games. So I got like 250 games by the time I was in my mid-20s, which was fantastic. So then that gives you a foundation then for to build on for the rest of your career.
Yeah, especially as a goalkeeper, I think that's the most important thing, right? Getting those reps early on. I'm sure you had some good matches, poor matches, and I'm sure that's where did you find yourself kind of coming into your own? If you had to look at yourself when you started your career early on, you're 16, 17, versus, let's say, who you were at 25. How much did you progress with those caps?
Well, it's incredible experience. It's learning on the job, basically. So you sink or swim. Yeah. Thankfully, having a name like Salmon, I managed to swim, keep my head just above the water.
I like that. Yeah.
So it was fantastic experience. Every season that went by, you're getting more and more games under your belt, more and more reps, and managers and coaches like that. So when they see somebody with experience, they'll always know that you're going to be reliable and you can do a job for them. So yeah.
With a name like Salmon, did you have any fans? Like, was there anything going on in the state, in the crowd? Any supporters? Were there, like chants, fish? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, you got all that. I remember when I started out as a kid at Blackburn, there was one of the senior players. He called me a different fish name every name. So it'd be trout, it'd be perch, it would be halibut. I get them all. So.
Do you like salmon? Do you eat salmon yourself? Do you?
I love salmon. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
I do too. Okay, well, that's great. And now let's talk about, going into Charlton. I think that's where you played the majority of your first team appearances and appearances, yes. Right? What was that like? That was was it a 10-year period? 10-year run at Charlton?
It was 10 years. It was kind of fragmented with lots of injuries. So I had some really bad injuries at Charlton, and one of them was kind of almost pretty much first team career ending, even though I got back. It was punctuated with so even though I think I probably played around about 200 games, I probably should have played more like 400 games. I had that many injuries. Wow. So I was bought initially from Wrexham by Charlton as a backup keeper to a really good goalkeeper called Bob Boulder, who was very consistent and didn't get injured. So the chances were few and far between. When the chances came, I got in and did well. The problem was I got an injury and then was back out of the team again. So it was very, very fragmented for the first 2-3 years. So that was frustrating. But once I got in. The only time I came out was through injury, and generally once I was fit again, apart from a period later on, was I generally got back in the team because I was considered the first team goalkeeper then. So that was a great experience. Got to play in some great stadium, big crowds. We managed to get into the Premier League in my last year, even though I was injured then. So I missed the year before, getting injured at Manchester City in the build up to getting promoted. That's where I had my biggest injury, which was an anterior posterior cruciate ligament reconstruction. So that was a tough thing to come back from. I managed it, but I didn't really get back to the level that I was before that injury. I was 33, 34 then, and that was a real tough blow.
Yeah, and goalkeepers obviously can go on a little longer than that, 33, 34, but you did start so early, so you did have a big chunk of appearances throughout your career.
I did.
What type of goalkeeper were you? What was your main attributes?
I was very much what I would call a shot preventer. So I didn't just rely on being a shot stopper. I felt that shot stopping was it's like a centre back who could head the ball. It's a given. So I tried to, if the ball was in the air, I'd try and come and catch it. So crosses was a big thing for me. I'd come and catch the crosses. Centre backs and defenders loved me behind them because I did a lot of their work for them. So if the ball was pumped into the box, I'd give them a shout, come and catch it, and then basically run the attack. So any balls over the top of the back foot, I'd always be on my front foot to come and deal with. So I didn't. I thought that trying to prevent a shot was better than trying to save a shot. So that was my philosophy, and it's still my philosophy now. And when I'm coaching, they're the kind of goalkeepers that I try to look for and try to encourage, are the ones that want to come and catch crosses and want to come and deal with balls over the top of the back four or through the defense.
A lot of that is being vocal, of course, right? So Did you find yourself growing into that, or have you always been vocal, like a vocal leader in the backfield, or how would you say?
Not initially, because obviously I was quite shy as a kid. So, but that was kind of instilled into me by senior players, So they wanted to know where the attackers were. They wanted to know when to clear the ball, when I wanted it. So it was important. And if I didn't give them that information, they soon let me know. So again, you have to learn quickly, and you have to do as you're told.
Yeah. Yes, once again, sink or swim, right? But
yes,
of course, with the Salmon last name, you swam.
Yes.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And that brought you to London, right? So Charlton is one of those clubs that's very storied in London. And then you went into coaching. So let's talk about kind of that bridge. I'm always interested. Was that also in the cards, or when you decided to retire and your professional playing career, was that a step you took right away? Would you take some time off? What did that look like?
I think the serious knee injury I had at Charlton was a big wake-up call that, this career can't go on forever. Mm-hmm. So even though I managed to stay in the game as a player for 4 years after I injured my knee, I wasn't the same player. I knew my career was going to be coming to an end soon. So that was kind of a kick up the backside to get some coaching licenses, which is what I did. So I took that time to get my B license. I went on the I think it was an inaugural UEFA A license for goalkeeping. I think in 1999, 2000. So I was well on my way to getting up the coaching ladder in terms of qualifications, and that was something that helped me progress and transition quite easily.
So the transition was, quite gradual, quite easy. Curious, during your playing career, were there any goalkeeping coaches that stood out to you, or that maybe instilled like a certain methodology as a goalkeeper, or that really inspired you to become a goalkeeper coach, or it's just a decision you made, natural progression there?
Goalkeeping was something that I was very fortunate at Blackburn Rovers. There was the first team goalkeeper there was a guy called Terry Geno. He was a fantastic goalkeeper in every way. I kind of mirrored what Terry did. I watched all the best keepers of my generation who I thought they did that well. So Pat Jennings, for instance, was a keeper that I'm throwing names out here that some of your older listeners may have heard of. Hopefully, Pat Jennings was a legendary Irish keeper who played for Arsenal and Tottenham. So those guys, Bruce Grobbelaar was one that I loved because he came and caught crosses. Peter Schmeichel. So I always watched the best keepers who did things well, and I tried to mirror those things. I'm very much a visual learner, so if I see something, I can replicate. If somebody tells me how to do something, I'm hopeless. But if I can see it, I can generally do it, and that's what I tried to do, was emulate the best goalkeepers. In terms of goalkeeping coaching, I could probably count on one hand the number of days. Even, I mean, I didn't have a goalkeeping coach until I was in my last club, Ipswich Town, and they had a full-time goalkeeper coach. Other than that, it was a few people here and there would come in and do some goalkeeping, but it wasn't what I would call goalkeeping coaching. There's no specific goalkeeping coach, which is this day and age is hard to believe, because every club in every league up and down the country would have a goalkeeping coach. But then, no, it was tough. So I had to it was a learn on the job, learn by your mistakes and learn by other people's mistakes.
That's kind of a cool question. I'll double back down on that. Is it the specialization of coaching, and over time that's changed? Was that just for goalkeepers, or would you say elsewhere in football you also now see more specialization than you used to see, let's say during your 80s and 90s in your career?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you've got set piece coaches now for a start. So, all the big clubs, and probably some of even the championship clubs will have a set piece coach. Goalkeeping coaches were few and far between, So, but now there'll be two or three goalkeeping coaches. You'll have a senior goalkeeping coach. You may have one that works with the reserves or the second team, and then you'll have academy goalkeeping coaches. So, yeah, it's specialization for sure has helped players, and I wished I'd had that kind of support and technology that the players have today. It's incredible.
So you spent 5 years at Arsenal as a coach. Were you specifically the goalkeeping coach at Arsenal, or what was your role in North London?
Yeah, I was the goalkeeping coach from under 16s all the way down from the first team keepers that weren't involved in the game on the Saturday. I'd take those on the Saturday morning to keep them ticking over. So all the way down from first team to under 16 goalkeepers, and also some of the ones that they were looking at. So, for instance, goalkeepers that were looking to sign. So I had quite a big responsibility with Wojciech Szczesny, who Arsenal signed. At the time, they were looking at a Danish keeper. The first team were looking at a Danish keeper. The academy had spotted Wojciech playing out at Legia Warsaw, I believe. So both keepers came in. Thankfully, the academy director, Liam Brady, agreed with me that Wojciech was the better prospect, and we signed Wojciech. But the first team actually wanted to sign the Danish kid. But we thought that Wojciech was a better prospect, and that's definitely turned out, because both careers have been, Wojciech's had a storied career. The Danish kid didn't go on to be a player at a great level. I understand.
Yeah. It's interesting now. It's kind of look back on. I'm sure you've had a lot of different stories like that over time in coaching. And you were telling me that those 5 years at Arsenal were a tremendous period. Obviously, the first team had a lot of success. You were there during the invincible run, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. You can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just so fortunate. It was complete fluke that I happened to be there then. Well, I was actually coaching a first team, a championship team called Gillingham. And the first team goalkeeper was doing really well, and he was invited into the Welsh squad. And in the Welsh squad coaching staff was Eddie Nisvecki, who was an assistant coach at Arsenal. And obviously they got talking, and he liked what he was seeing with the goalkeeper and Jason Brown. And basically Eddie rang me and said, "Look, we love what you've done with Jason. Do you fancy coming into Arsenal to work with the academy?" Which is a really ridiculous question. But I tried not to sound too excited to give the game away. But yeah, it was that was fantastic. So when I went into the training ground, met Liam Brady, who's an Arsenal legend. Some of the people there, since to see the facilities, it was like, this is just a different level.
Yeah.
And it absolutely was a different level. I had 5 years there. I maintain now that I learned more there in 5 years than the rest of my career anywhere else. It's just an incredible place to be working alongside some of the people, and the quality of that place was phenomenal. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, I mean, that, you talked about your time as a 16-year-old and kind of being, brought into the ranks, the professional ranks. I'd assume, career ends. That was probably your first real, let's say, journey into that like upper echelon at the Arsenal level on the coaching side, right? So you're all of a sudden thrusted into the first, that whole world of Arsenal and the program it is. So I'm sure you took a lot away from that, and then you make the move to Canada. Did you move that 5 years later, or did you spend some more time in England, or what did that look like?
It was a lifestyle decision. It wasn't
Okay.
nothing to do with a career decision. I mean, if you move from Arsenal pretty much anywhere, generally you're going to be moving down. It's not. There's not many bigger clubs than Arsenal at the time, so they were winning everything. Just missed out on a Champions League final that in 2006, I believe, against Barcelona. So that was in Paris. That was an amazing experience as well. So yeah, it was a lifestyle decision for the family, my kids. What was fortunate at the time was, while I was working at Arsenal, Vancouver Whitecaps president and the owner came out, and I wasn't even aware. The day they were looking around, they were looking at the stadium, looking at the facilities, looking at the philosophers and that, just to see how they could do things in Vancouver. It was only a couple of days later when the chief scout who'd showed them around the place mentioned to me, he said, didn't you say you put? I told him I put my papers in for immigration for Canada. He went, the Whitecaps came in, so that's how we got the introduction. So yeah, that was fortunate that they came in at the time that my immigration papers were just about being processed. So that's how that connection came about. So we were already going to Vancouver, but I hadn't contacted the Whitecaps. It was only after they'd been into the Arsenal training facilities that that connection happened. So wow. Again, it's just the way it turned out.
The way it turned out, yeah. So then you moved to Vancouver area. I mean, you've been now in Canada for quite some time. So your first impression of soccer in Canada, and we'll talk about like where it is today, actually, as a level of comparison.
Well, my first impression was.
And also, to be fair to Canadian soccer, you are coming from Arsenal too. So.
That's the thing. I mean, yeah. I'm coming from Arsenal, and I expected to be a step down. I actually didn't expect it to be such a bigger step down. And I give you an example. So my first session that I had to go and have a look at, basically, they trained at a university in Vancouver, and as always, I'm really, really punctual, so I made sure I got there early. I couldn't find a training ground, so I was getting a little bit panicky. And I asked four adults, where did the Vancouver Whitecaps train? And the answer I got was the same from every one of them. They said, "Ooh." And I just couldn't believe that I was in Vancouver. This is the only professional team in the city of Vancouver, and they didn't even know who they were. That's how difficult or how different it was to life in England. And I could have said even a non-league club in England, and people would know who they were. But this was a real eye-opener for me, and I'm thinking now, oh my goodness, what have I come to here? But once I found that there is actually a football culture, it felt more like home. Once I knew that there is a football culture. It's not the same. It's never going to be the same. Mm-hmm. But hopefully we can start instilling some of the things that I'd learned at Arsenal into the fabric of the Vancouver Whitecaps. But where they were then to where they are now, and with the advent of the World Cup coming in 2026, yeah, this is a much different landscape than it was 18 years ago when I landed here, for sure.
Yeah, I would say 18 years ago, me myself being a young fan at the time, like it's a little bit more niche, I would say, right? So you had kind of your cult followers, Pacific Northwest and Vancouver and that area, talking United States. So yeah, Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, and Canada, where you are obviously we've always had some of the best fans in Canada or in the United States, but I think that's the momentum has even picked up since then. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that too, and what that's done, I guess, to Canada, the framework, what you do at BC Soccer, and what you've seen over the past 18 years.
Well, I've been fortunate to not just work with the Whitecaps, so with the first team, in the first year of MLS. That was a great experience. But I've also worked with the men's national team. And probably the first job I got when I landed in late 2007 was working with the women's national team. So that was an eye-opener. I'd never worked in women's football before. They needed a goalkeeping coach. They were preparing for the Beijing Olympics, and they wanted me to go. I actually declined the offer because I'd only just arrived, and the amount of time that I would have been spending out of the country between the October and June the following year was just too much. So I needed to establish myself. So I turned that role down. Thankfully, the Whitecaps offered me a position, which was great. But initially that was the situation for me. So I've been fortunate that I've worked in all those different environments. So I've seen the changes. I've seen that things are moving, although it's a slower pace. The culture is changing. This is very much a hockey city for sure in Vancouver, and a hockey country in Canada. But there's more players playing football or soccer, as they call it here, than playing hockey. So, and I think after the World Cup, it can only get bigger and better.
And let's talk regionally in British Columbia. So player development, senior coordinator at BC Soccer. What do you do day to day? And also, I guess for anyone who's tuning in, obviously Vancouver, the British Columbia is a large area of Canada. I think the third largest province, I want to say, in Canada. There's multiple provinces too. So it's BC Soccer. And how else is, where does BC Soccer fit in the greater landscape of Canada? Let's put it that way.
Well, I think that's one of the issues that we have here is the vastness of British Columbia. So BC Soccer is based in Vancouver, and that's called the Lower Mainland. Outside of that, you've got huge traveling distances by car. It could be 9 or 12 hours, and you're still driving 9 to 12 hours, and you're still in BC. That's how big the place is. So to reach all of those places is our biggest challenge. Mm-hmm. We're only, even though we're a provincial organization, there's only probably 3 of us that actually deliver on-field programming who work for BC Soccer. We contract out with everybody else. So to get to the outer reach of the provinces is a challenge. It's tough for us. We're doing it, and that's going to be our biggest focus in these next 2 or 3 years to do that. So we're going to be visiting the outer reaches. We're going to be supporting them more, and hopefully, with the advent, like I said, with the World Cup coming here next year, that the interest is going to spike. And hopefully there'll be some kind of legacy as well in terms of better fields, better facilities from the World Cup as well. So that's what we're hoping to do by getting it out and reaching these places out in the upper north or out east
Yeah, similar to the U.S. Compared to I saw actually a graphic. I think it was a cup match, might have been FA Cup. I can't remember exactly what cup match it was in England, but it was northwest tip of England all the way down to the south coast. I forget exactly how many hours it was, but what you just described is a further drive, right? In just one province.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's huge. And also the geography is incredible. So, it's not, we're talking about mountain pass roads to get to these places as well. So it can be a bit of a hairy drive. It's
a beautiful place to work too. I mean, the scenery is incredible.
It's stunning. It's an amazing place. The lifestyle here is incredible. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth, to be honest, in my opinion. So I if you've not been, I definitely I could definitely vouch for the place for sure.
Yeah, let's what legacy with the World Cup? Obviously, tri-hosts are being hosted in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. When it comes to Canada, what type of impact do you think that will have? Do you see it being more of a grassroots impact that we'll see, let's say, grow into itself in the next 5 to 10 years? Will have an immediate impact, a little bit of both? What would you expect?
I would expect a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, there's a big immigrant population, particularly in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. So it might just spike a little bit of interest in those. That we're looking for hidden gems, hidden diamonds that play the game but have not been introduced to it yet. Probably the biggest obstacle, and maybe one of the biggest obstacles in North American sport, is the pay to play. It very much relies on pay to play, which is not the case in Europe. So in England, pay to play is almost non-existent. There are a few private academies, but generally, if you're good enough, there are so many clubs, so many levels you find your level. Basically, you'll get picked up. That's not the case here. So there are some kids probably out there who are playing the game that we don't know about. So it's like to say, it's just a vast province, and that's our job, is to find those players and unearth them.
Another way to find them, I was, talking about data. So every club uses data, and in certain ways. How does BC Soccer ingest data, and does that play a role in kind of provincial scouting and a network there?
It certainly will do. As you know, we've partnered with SciSports.
It's a loaded question,
but it's a pertinent question, because this is part of our strategic plan to get out to the regions of BC. And one thing we can do with SciSports is we can get player metrics. So we have a youth league, which is the highest level of community or youth football in BC. It's called the BCSBL, British Columbia Soccer Premier League. Yes, so we're going to get metrics on all those players. So we'll get some good data on all those players, and then once we've got that data, that can be shared with the professional clubs. It can also be used by us to get metrics on players in the outer regions, to compare about where these players are against our provincial program players, maybe what the Whitecaps have, and maybe what even the national team players are currently at. So yes, it's going to play a big part for us in terms of helping us identify players.
And from the looks of it, is British Columbia and then a little bit of ahead of the game in terms of compared to the other provinces. Are you aware of other provinces doing this, or you kind of on the front foot there?
I think we're on the front foot in terms of this. So we'll be pioneering this. Hopefully it would be something that other provinces could look at, and especially if it's successful, because other provinces have the same issues that we have in terms of the vastness of their provinces, and they struggle as well to get to see all of the players in all of the regions. So this is one way of doing it, and hopefully we can lead the way and show them that who knows, we may unearth another Alphonso Davies this way.
That's true.
And then that's all you need. Another one of those is gold dust for Canada.
Who, by the way, came through the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Came to the Whitecaps. He came from Edmonton originally, I think, via African nation, but was playing in Edmonton or in Alberta. Actually came to BC and played in some interprovincial games, and I think that's where the Whitecaps spotted him. Oh, yeah.
It's exciting times for Canadian soccer. There's a lot going on. Mike, this is tremendous. We're going to switch now, though, to the trivia. So in every Heart of the Game podcast episode, we pay homage to SciSports. This is a SciSports podcast, but of course, we are founded in the Netherlands. So these are 5 Dutch football questions, Mike. Oh, wow. Multiple choice. So they are multiple choice.
Okay, that helps.
And if you're nervous, I'm always nervous about the pronunciation. So we're both in this together.
I will definitely butcher those. And anything I don't know, my answer will be Ajax.
That's fine. That's a great Ajax or C usually is the correct. Yeah. Okay, so question number 1.
Okay.
Which stadium is the home ground of Ajax? Is it A?
Yeah.
Johan Cruyff Arena? Is it B, the Kuip? Is it C, Philips Stadion? Or is it D, Abelenstra? Oh man, this looks like Abe Lenstra Stadion or Abu Lenstra Stadion.
I'm gonna. You're gonna have to tell. What was the first one again? You said
the first one was Johan Cruyff Arena.
This is terrible, isn't it? I mean, I actually should know this.
And this is the home ground of Ajax.
Yeah, I thought it was. I won't say because I might embarrass myself. I'll have to go with, and it's probably wrong, but I'm going to have to go with Johan Cruyff Stadium.
You are correct. You are correct. Wow. You got one on the board. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's very good. Yeah, A, Johan Cruyff Arena Stadium. Number 2, which Dutch club is famously nicknamed the Sons of God? Now, there's a Dutch pronunciation of that. I'm not even going to go there. The Sons of God. Is it A, Ajax? Is it B, Feyenoord? Is it C, PSV Eindhoven? Or is it D, AZ Alkmaar?
Well, I told you what I was going to do prior if I didn't know. So I'm going to have to go Ajax, Sons of God.
You are correct. so far, the prophecy of the just guessing Ajax is correct. Yeah. 2 Ajax-related questions back to back. So 2 for 2. Great work.
Okay.
And actually, what I'm going to do is put the scoreboard for the past episodes up. So it's a little bit of a fun competition here. But yeah, 2 for 2. Great start. Which legendary Dutch coach closely linked with Total Football, so who is linked with the creation of Total Football, is nicknamed the General? Is it A, Johan Cruyff? Is it B, Rinus Michels? Is it C, Louis van Gaal? Or is it D, Dick Advocaat?
So this is the original.
The General.
But was this the original? The General, well, I'm thinking the original. I'm going back to Total Football back in 1974 when it was Rinus Michels. So
he was closely linked with Total Football.
Yes, well, I would say that he was the guy that got Total Football going. So I'm going to Rinus Michels.
3 for 3. Good work. Yeah, 3 for 3. Question number 4. Which Dutch player scored the famous goal against Argentina at the 1998 World Cup? Was it A, Patrick Kluivert? Was it B, Ruud van Nistelrooy? Was it C, Dennis Bergkamp? Or was it D, Robin van Persie?
I'm pretty sure it was Dennis Bergkamp. I was very fortunate to see him play at Arsenal at close quarters. So yeah, what a legend and what a goal.
Absolute legend, and you're correct. It is C, Dennis Bergkamp. 4 for 4. 4 for 4. Question number 5. And this is insane, because if you get this correct, then all 3 guests of the podcast here have gone 5 for 5. No pressure. It means I just need to make the questions maybe a little harder.
Oh, this is commentator's curse now you've said that.
Yes. But which club's academy is known as the Future? Is it A, Ajax? Is it B, Feyenoord? Is it C, PSV? Or D, AZ Alkmaar? The Future.
Well, there's so many great players come out of both of, I would say, Ajax and Feyenoord. I would narrow it down to those 2. And I'm going to go with what I said prior. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to go with Ajax. You
are correct. 5 for 5. It just so happened there was 3 Ajax-related questions. I swear I didn't do that purposely, but it's just it's tough to get around Ajax. I mean, such a storied program in Dutch Eredivisie football. So
yes, indeed. And some of the players that have come out of that academy are just legends of the game. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Mike, this has been tremendous. I hope you enjoyed your time today on the Heart of the Game podcast.
It was great. Appreciate it, Brian. Good fun. Loved it.
Thanks for coming on. And guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of the Heart of the Game podcast, make sure to hit like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen to us in audio form. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon, Apple, wherever you get your pods. Make sure to subscribe and listen there. Once again, this is Brian McDonough with the Heart of the Game podcast signing off. See you all in the next episode. Take care, everyone.